In the previous video, we learned about the three fundamental variable types in C: int, float, and char. These types are fine for dealing with a single letter, char, or number of days in the week, int, or some physics constant, float. But think about it for a moment. That is one heck of a limitation. How would we represent a list of the days in a week? Or months in a year? For that, we need arrays. Let's take a look. Okay, arrays. Let's do some C hacking and get into it. First, we go to our development folder and create a subfolder called Hello Arrays. Make a copy of my first C program, place it in the folder, and open the project file in Xcode. Select main.c and get rid of the print statement. We're going to declare an array of floating point variables. Let's do that now. We'll call it numbers, geeks, love. We'll make it large enough to hold 3 floating point numbers. We indicate that by open square bracket 3, close square bracket. We're now going to load this array with 3 floating point numbers. We do that by accessing our array at different indices, or indexes. In C, the first item in an array is a 0th item, not the first item. So let's fill that out right now. The first item in our numbers, geeks, love array will be pi. The second number will be the golden ratio. The second number will be stored at the second index, which we indicate by 1. We'll add a third number at the third index, which we indicate by 2. This will be the square root of 2. The reason arrays are zero-based is as follows. An array in C, specifically the variable name, is a pointer to a physical computer memory address. Wait, don't freak out. You'll learn all about pointers later in this course. When we access an array, or index into an array in geek speak, we are selecting an offset from the computer memory address pointed to by the name of the array. Here, the name of the array is numbers, geeks, love. The first array item in that array is at a memory address offset of 0. So going back to our array, we see the first item is at 0, the second is at 1, etc. Now we have these variables. Now we have this array. Let's print the values in the array. So we write our friend the print statement. And the first number we'll print is pi. We use the formatting symbol for a floating point number. And now we're going to access the first number in the array. Again, we use 0. So here we see when we loaded the first item, we loaded it into 0. Now we're retrieving the first item, so again we use 0. Let's print that. Pi is 3.1415. Let's close the console and continue printing our numbers. Let's print the second number in our array, 1.618, the golden ratio. Again, we index into our array numbers, geeks, love, but this time we use 1 as opposed to 0. So let's look closely at that. The first number was at 0, the second number is at 1, so we're printing the second number, which is at 1. Let's print that. Golden ratio. Finally, let's print the square root of 2. The square root of 2 is the third number in the array. The third number in the array is at index 2. We type 2 to access the third number, and now we'll print all 3 numbers in our array. Pi, golden ratio, square root. So now we've seen a floating point number stored in a floating point array. Let's do something slightly different. We'll look at integers. So we'll make an int array called primes for prime numbers. Here we type an open square bracket followed by curly braces, and in the curly braces we'll insert the numbers we want in our integer array. These will be the first prime numbers, 2, 3, 5, 7. So let's stop for a moment. Notice we didn't have to insert a number for the size of the array where we're initializing the array for the first time. Now let's print the prime numbers. The first 4 prime numbers. Here we use the integer formatting symbol indicated by %d. We use 4 formatting symbols for the 4 numbers that are in the array. Again, the first number in our array starts at 0, and I'll just make a copy to do this a bit quicker. The first is 0, the second is 1, the third is 2, and the fourth is 4. End with a semicolon. Now let's print. So we have our floating point array with some numbers geeks love, and we have our array of prime numbers, which are integers. And there is a bug. So this is a teachable moment. Notice we placed array index 4. Let's take a look at this error. It says array index 4, but we know our indices are 0, 1, 2, 3. There is nothing at index 4. So if we go back to the print statement, replace it with a 3, now run our program, 2, 3, 5, 7, the first 4 prime numbers. Using this approach where we declare our array and initialize it at the same time is often very convenient and makes our code more compact and more readable. Let's go back and change numbers geeks love to do it the same way we did primes. We remove the number 3 and replace it with nothing. And now we just copy and paste these 3 numbers. Pi, golden ratio, square root of 2, and we can eliminate these 3 lines of code. Now let's print. Now you have a feel for the use of arrays in C.